What's up, YouTube? How's everybody doing? Okay, so this is going to be my first video on my channel. Um, I'm pretty much, my idea is, I want to do questions and answers and talk about my life. I'm going to have my kids on so we could talk and discuss and, bond and get to know more about each other better. I did raise my kids, so I had full custody since they were 2 and 6 years old, and they are now 24 and 28. So, you know, hopefully, bringing up different topics and this and that. And, also I want to get your guys' topics. So, leave them in the comments. And, all right. So let's just get this started. I originally grew up in New York, in Queens, and lived there my whole life. I would say I moved here to Texas about the end of 2021, and it's been a roller coaster since I moved to Texas. And I'm definitely going to get into that in the later videos. I want to wait to talk about that stuff, when I'm with my children, because there's a lot of stuff that they don't know, so I want to have, give them the opportunity to ask questions and stuff like that, and, what they think. So let's just pick a random topic. I'm going to just keep it real with everybody and be myself, be honest, and see what happens, see where it goes. Topic I've been noticing. All right, let's start here. I was originally going to do reaction videos with them. I figured, with the music and stuff and all this different stuff, it would be a thing. But I think having raw conversations would be a lot better with them. So that's most likely what we're going to do. We're going to do that. And I think it would be better, and it's more honest, you know? So my kids are good. They're doing great. Um, Where do I begin? There's so many things I want to talk about. I wish you guys would. I really hope you guys tell me in the comments, what you want to talk about. If you have any questions, if there's any way I can help. I've been through a lot. I have a lot of life experience, and everything's obviously just my opinion, but uh, YouTube, I think it would be a good platform for me. Um, Hey, we'll start here. I was in the military. I was a tanker. I drove tanks, the M1A1, and that was interesting. Let's see, what can we talk about with the Army? Okay, here's one for you. So, in the Army, you're pretty close. You're very close with the men you're serving with, and a bunch of friends of mine. There was a bunch because it was about 5 carloads, and we were on our way to a club. Now you gotta remember, this was back when I was like, what, 21? So it's about 5 carloads, and we're in Kentucky because that's where I was stationed at Fort Knox, and we're, you know, riding together, and we're dipping in and out of lanes, and everybody's got their blanket, their hazards on. It was just different, being from New York, and being in Kentucky, and being around different uh, people from, different, all walks of life, all different, states. So it was pretty cool because, we were all just going together, following each other. We get to the club. I'm not really a dancer. Never have been. So I'm just hanging out, drinking, talking to people, talking to girls, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, it was just crazy. It was like out of a movie. we're in this club, and everybody just starts running, right? So they're running, I'm running. So now when we parked in the back of the parking lot, and there's one entrance in and out. It's just, there's no other exits. So all of a sudden, we're out, in the back by the cars, and all of a sudden you hear gunshots, right? The crazy thing was, the person that was trying to shoot at somebody ends up hitting this girl. She gets hit, right? But what makes it worse was, it was crazy. The person that the one guy was shooting at, right? He doesn't hit him, he hits this girl. Now, the person that got shot at, you can't make this up. He hops in his car and he takes off. He ends up hitting the girl that this dude just shot with the car. I was like, it was nuts. It was just a crazy scenario situation. It was just like, are you kidding me? Like, the girl ended up being okay. Not, she survived. But it was messed up because there was like no way in, no way out. So like, we had nowhere to go. It was a crazy situation. Like, I don't know. There's so many different. But the army was good. The army was, it was different. It's very comfortable because you have stability. Especially at that age. What do you know? 20, 21. I was married, but the reason I was out at the club and my wife had left and took my son and came back to New York and left me there. It was just, yeah, I came home from work one day, from being at the motor pool, and it was just, she was gone. It was a messed up situation. But anyway, that's the reason I was there at the club. Let's see, what else? Fun fact, I never smoked cigarettes until after she had left. I was hanging out with this guy I know, and he was a cool dude. What he used to do was, he used to take um excuse me, he used to take rental cars, bring them back to the single barracks, take the rim. He had rims, right? His own rims. So he used to take the rims off the rental car, put the rims on the rental car, take the whole stereo system out, put his own stereo system in, and use that car for a month, return it, get another one. So I was hanging out with him one day while he was doing all that stereo, installation and everything. And I was stressed out, like I said, because she left, took my son. So I was like, yo, he smoked Newport. So I was like, let me get a cigarette. So here we are, like 25 years later, and I'm still smoking cigarettes just from that one day. Yeah, it's been crazy. Being in the military, believe it or not, the only thing that intimidated me, believe it or not, was the grenades. The grenades are what intimidated me out of everything. They're nothing to play with. Um, as a tanker, I don't know if you guys know, you do qualify with the M4 carbine and 9mm Beretta. That's because the M16 is too big, and the M4 is a smaller version of that. Because you're inside a tank and there's no room to begin with anyway. Basic training was pretty cool if anybody's interested in that. Basic training was different than other MOS, which is the MOS is the job that you do in the military, and my MOS, the basic training, wasn't like other people's, where it's 2 months of basic training, and then there's a little gap, maybe a week or so or whatever, a month, whatever it is, and then your AIT starts. That's your advanced individual training. Once that starts, you know, you learn your job, and then you get stationed. So with tanks, with the M1A1s, it's not the same thing. It's basic training and AIT combined. So it was 4 months straight basic training AIT. So for the 4 months, you're at the same time you're doing all the physical and you're learning your job because it's a lot to remember, you know. And I remember when in between the 2 months and the 2 months, there was a weekend where your family could come down, and you have uh, that Friday till Sunday you have to be back. So when my parents and my wife and brought my son, and when they came down, and I came out of the barracks for the first time. Now this is after 2 months, right? I went in like 200 and something pounds. By the 2 months when they saw me, I was 150. When I walked out the door, they didn't even recognize me. Like for a second, they didn't even know who I was. That's how much drastically I changed. And um, after those 2 months, and then once I got stationed, I put weight back on, but it was different than, it was proportioned differently. And I went back up to 200, but it was a different 200, if you know what I mean. Because you're working out every day, running, doing your PT in the morning. Um, Also, what was pretty crazy is the our platoon, out of the 4 platoons in our company, the other 3 platoons, when they graduated, they got sent to Korea. And our platoon ended up staying in Kentucky. Now, when you're stationed in Korea, you can't bring your family with you. So you're there a year by yourself. And I'm not sure why they did that, but they did. And so we were stationed at Fort Knox. We did end up getting distinguished honor platoon. Um, our drill sergeant was crazy. Was our drill sergeant? Both of them were from New York, also. So I kind of got away with a lot more than I should have. But if anybody's interested in doing basic training, oh, that's my dog. If anybody's interested in basic training, I would definitely look into it. It all depends on the job you do. All right, let's change that subject. Let's go to something else. Uh, you do. All right, you know what? You do get more money being married and have children when you're in the military. You do get less when you're single. Um, Good thing about it is the PX and the commissary and all that. The clothes are cheaper. The food is a lot cheaper in there in the grocery stores. Gas on base is a lot cheaper. Uh, so yeah, it is something to consider if you're interested. You don't have to do it. Um, the only thing is they don't tell you that if you decide you don't want to be there, say you're there, for your 2 months basic, and you're like a week or two in, and you don't want to do it anymore. It's not going to be held against you. The only bad thing is they're going to hold you there until your platoon graduates, most likely. And they're going to have you in a separate place. You're going to be the one with the orange vest on, cleaning up the sides of the roads with all the other people that can make it. Until your platoon, graduates. Then you get to go home. But like I said, it until you do that final swearing, it's not held against you. People think, oh, if I quit, it's going to mess up my whole life. No, that's not the case. And anybody in the military that was in the military watching this, you know that. Um, but give it a shot, you know, if you want. it's a good experience. It really is. Um, as far as everybody think, oh, they're gonna send me to war. Yeah, they might, but you know what? I don't know. When I was in, Clinton was president, so uh, there was really nothing going on anyway. But this is pretty much going to be, my videos, just to let you guys know. I'm going to talk about stuff, but I'm also another, I'm going to have my boys with me. Um, and, there's a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about and stuff, they don't know. But I think it'll be good. And let me know what you guys want to talk about. Leave any comments. I don't care if they're good or bad. I accept criticism, if it's coming from a place of love. Uh, I'm not one of them people. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, hey, like who's subscribe. No, I'm not going to do that. You guys do what you feel. If you like my, stuff, just tell me in the comments. You know what I mean? Let me know I'm doing good. If I'm doing something wrong, let me know. If there's something you don't like, let me know. I know I got to upgrade my cameras and all this stuff, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the work in and put the time in and make it better for you guys. And that's pretty much all that matters. All right. You guys be safe out there. Saint out.